Hello Internet, I'm Zarlin, and this will be my nostalgic review that will be fueling my playthrough of Sonic Adventure DX. Sonic Adventure DX, or Director's Cut, is very close to the original Sonic Adventure. Not a lot changed, but enough that they wanted to change the name. Now, the original Sonic Adventure came out on the Dreamcast, which I did not own, and a friend of mine did, that I spent many a time going over to that house and trying to play my own save file on that game, and pretty much being a horrible friend. But that's beside the point. I did, however, receive Sonic Adventure DX for the GameCube way back in the day, and I played it all the way through multiple times. I was not always that enthusiastic about some levels, but we'll get to that later. But I did enjoy the game multiple times. First off, we're going to talk about the nostalgia of this game for me, and the positive stuff that fuels this Let's Play, hence the name Nostalgia Fueled Let's Play. I was always a big fan of Sonic from the Genesis era, which, of course, I did not have a Genesis either, but I did have a collection on the PC later. And it felt like Sonic was in the third dimension for me. Like I said, I played some of the Genesis games on my PC back in the day, so I had a rough idea of what Sonic was supposed to feel like, and to me personally, it felt like they did a great job of putting Sonic in the third dimension, giving him good speed, and I quite like the homing attack because it makes it a lot easier for Sonic to be in the third dimension and hit enemies that way. Another positive thing for me is the selection of characters, not just playing as Sonic, but playing as Tails and Knuckles, and Amy's okay, and the introduction of the character Gamma, which is one of my favorite Sonic characters ever. And then there's Big the Cat, which we'll get to later. Another great thing that I really liked is the way that the bosses were. The bosses seemed very creative, and Chaos was quite a nice addition as well. And it felt like bosses that Robotnik would have come up with in the Genesis days were, the Egg Viper and the Egg Hornet. They all seem like they would be good enemies in the 2D Sonics, design-wise anyways. And it felt like Robotnik was Robotnik. In fact, he's the one who refers to himself still as Robotnik. Everyone else refers to him as Eggman. And of course, Chaos is very interesting in design and, of course, key to the story, which I personally enjoy the story, even though the voice acting is kind of cheesy. But the story was very nice touch, and I like the way it was done. This is all nostalgia, by the way. Anyways, those are pretty much my key points of why I enjoyed this game back in the past and have fun, nostalgic memories of it. And that's why I'm fueled to play this game. Now on to the things that I remember that I did not quite like. This one is a bit shorter because I mostly have fond memories of this, but there is the infamous Big the Cat section. Now, I know a lot of people also had trouble with Amy, but I didn't really have a problem with Amy's section, and it felt kind of like a more tense version of Sonic while going a little bit slower, because you were always trying to escape the giant whatever his name is. I can't remember. And the last level especially, I remember being very tense playing that when I was younger. Anyway, I digress. The big thing that I really disliked as a child, and I kind of tried my best to skip around in the big, multiple playthroughs, is Big the Cat. I don't know why Sega decided to put a promotion for their fishing games in there, but it was not a good promotion and it was not fun. It did not feel like Sonic the Hedgehog. Other characters felt like members of Sonic's universe and felt like they fit into the way that it played. and I don't feel like a fishing cat is exactly the best addition to Sonic's universe, whereas Gamma was about the best addition they've had in years. Anyways, now I'm going to give it my nostalgic kind of review score. Since this is not one of my pointless reviews, I'm actually going to give it a score, but this is based entirely off of my nostalgia. This is only off of what I remember as a kid, and I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10 from my nostalgia as a kid. Now, I have already started playing through this because I decided to do these nostalgia-fueled Let's Plays about halfway in through Sonic's storyline. But now I've finished Sonic's storyline, so I decided to do this and get this done, because I want to turn this into a nostalgia-fueled Let's Play. And at the end of this Let's Play, I will have a current time review, where after I've beaten the entire game, how I feel about it. And we're going to move on to Tails' story after that this video right here gets uploaded.